This administration sees the faith community, churches, as partners, not competitors, which is very important in delivering help, essential help within the communities all across America. Join me now to talk more about this is the Acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf. Mr. Secretary, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you having me on this afternoon.
Well, absolutely. And I want to thank you and your team. I've been working with him the last couple of weeks over the CISA guidelines that are, I think, reflective of where this administration is when it comes to the faith community. I say CISA guidelines. We use these terms, throw them around. It essentially identifies essential personnel. And under the latest guidelines put out last week, clergy and the services that clergy provide are now seen and listed as essential services. Explain the importance of that to our listeners. Absolutely.
Let me just back up. And so our Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, as you indicated, created what we call the Essential Critical Infrastructure Workers Guidance, or list. And so this is a list of industries in our critical infrastructure sectors that need to go to work every day, need to keep the economy running, the supply chain full. And as governors put in place shelter-in-place procedures, we need to make sure that certain individuals can still come and go and to do their job so that the lights turn on, the water keeps running, there's gas in the trucks to deliver the PPE and the like. So CISA went through a process and looking at the different sectors and making sure that we had the right information on there, and they did that in a collaborative approach. And as you indicated, last week they released version 2.0. We're actually up to 3.0 this weekend. But in the 2.0 version, we did include clergy in there, recognizing that they provide a supportive and essential service, particularly in a number of hospitals, funeral homes, and the like, as we deal with COVID and everything that entails. So we worked with a variety of folks to make sure that we continue to encompass the right individuals, the right workforce, the right essential services on that list, because we know governors are paying attention. There's been upwards of 20 governors that have linked to this specific list when they put some of their procedures, their shelter-in-place procedures in place. And we've gotten pretty good feedback about the work that we've done with this list. And as you indicated, I'm happy, that we did include clergy there, again, to provide that supportive and essential function, particularly during this period of time, particularly, again, at hospitals, funeral homes, and other places.
And it's important to underscore, Mr. Secretary, what you said, that these are guidance. This is guidance that's put out to the states. The federal government and the CDC guidelines are guidelines. It is the states that then takes this guidance and puts into place the various orders that affect people and communities across the country. Is that correct?
That is correct. So what we try to do is provide information to our governors across the country and provide them this guidance, but they're in the best position to tailor the list for their essential services. West Virginia may need miners to go to work every day. Obviously, New York City probably needs a financial services folks going to work every day. So we want to make sure that there's flexibility in the system, but the guidelines are national guidelines. But you are correct, Tony. It's up to each individual governors to sort of operationalize how those guidelines are really going to work in their respective states.
I mean, you've had a lot on your plate. When you came in, we had the issues on our southern border, but this seems to eclipse everything. This is one of the most significant challenges, I think, that we have had in centuries, probably going back to the Spanish flu back in the early 1900s, that we have seen this type of pandemic move across our country, taxing pretty much everything. How are the systems we have in place holding up?
We're doing well. I think it's important to emphasize the unprecedented nature of how the country is coming together and really tackling this issue. And we often talk about FEMA, who's leading the coordinated response for the government. And they do this every day. They do this every year, plan for both natural and man-made disasters. but it's usually very localized. It's usually a handful of states that they're surging material, support, and resources into. Today, we're looking at surging resources into all 50 states and territories. So I often say it's the response of a Category 5 or a Category 4 hurricane in all 50 states, all at the same time, all wanting the same equipment, the same testing. So it is a challenge, but I will say that the team at FEMA, in conjunction with HHS, with DOD, and probably about 15 or 20 other federal agencies, are doing a great job managing this at the federal level. But it comes down to our great partners in state, cities, mayors, governors, executing this at the local level. And that's really what they're good at. And we see it working every day. It's a challenge. The supply chain's a challenge. Getting PPE is a challenge. I will say that we've got about 170 countries that are dealing with COVID-related issues, all trying to buy the same equipment, the same supplies, all at the same time from very few vendors. And so we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we get the right supplies, the right resources to the right places in the right quantities. And we're doing a very good job at that.
Well, and having lived in South Louisiana most of my life and having gone through a number of those hurricanes, including the Category 5s, it is a significant challenge for the entire nation to be facing this. So I commend you, Mr. Secretary, for the work that your team and of course the President, I think, has done a stellar job in leading the entire administration.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. And a lot of the work, again, we've got Department is obviously, we do a lot of work at FEMA, but CBP, our Customs and Border Protection, United States Coast Guard, we talked about CISA. We've got a lot of different elements that are playing a very specific role. And a lot of our law enforcement entities are interdicting fraudulent materials, test kits, counterfeit goods regarding COVID that we're also protecting the American people from.
Well, Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon. We're out of time, but I want to get you back on to talk about some of the other aspects of how you are working to defend the faith community that oftentimes finds itself the target of attack. So, Mr. Secretary, thanks for being with us.
Great. Thank you, Tony.